The radio transmission that changed my life wasn't just a call for help, it was bait in a trap I didn't see coming. Overlord, this is Neptune 6. Commander Brooks is captured. Repeat, Commander Brooks is captured. All extraction birds are down. 5 operators KIA. I'm the last one standing. My heart stopped and then started hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Around me in the operations briefing room, senior officers erupted into chaos. Phones grabbed orders, shouted satellite feeds pulled up. But I stayed frozen, my mind racing through a memory that suddenly felt prophetic. Baby bird. My father's voice echoed from 8 years ago. The most dangerous enemy isn't the one shooting at you. It's the one standing beside you, pretending to be your ally. Trust your instincts, especially when someone makes betrayal look like loyalty. I stood up. Sir, I can get him out. Admiral Richardson looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Lieutenant Kane, this isn't a supply run. This is combat extraction 200 miles inside Syrian territory. Yes, sir. I understand exactly what it is. Commander Hayes barely hid his contempt. You fly transports, Lieutenant. 0 combat hours. I stepped toward the tactical display, forcing confidence into my voice. 2,400 flight hours total, sir. And I can extract Commander Brooks using methods the enemy won't expect. Colonel Martinez studied me with unexpected interest. Every conventional approach has been compromised. The enemy knew the SEAL team's extraction points. They were waiting at every location. He turned to the Admiral. Sir, we need something completely unexpected. What are you suggesting, Lieutenant? Admiral Richardson asked. Sir, may I ask what my father's call sign was? He pulled up a file, expression shifting. Captain Thomas Kane, call sign Phantom. Why? Because Phantom Kane pioneered unconventional penetration tactics still used by special operations, and he taught me every single one. Every weekend for 6 years, sir. The room went silent. Part 1. Training in the Shadows. My father wasn't just a legendary pilot. He was a strategic thinker who believed psychology was deadlier than technology. I remember practicing low-level flying when I was 16 in a borrowed Piper at a private strip outside Virginia Beach. Baby bird, the enemy studies our patterns, he said after we'd completed an impossible valley maneuver. They learn our doctrine, our tactics, but they also plant false flag scenarios designed to draw us into killing zones. He climbed steeply, voice serious. Your best defense isn't just flying skills. It's recognizing when something feels wrong, even if you can't explain why. How do you recognize it? I asked. Details that don't fit. Timing that's too convenient. Information that comes too easily. He looked at me directly. Sometimes it's a voice on the radio that sounds wrong, too calm when they should be panicked, too helpful when they should be confused. He died 3 years later, over the South China Sea. I learned through unofficial channels that his final mission involved exposing a traitor embedded in a forward operating base. My father died stopping a betrayal. When I graduated from the Naval Academy with perfect scores and applied for fighter training, the review board rejected me. Kane shows exceptional potential, but would be better suited for support operations. Translation: I was a woman, and they didn't believe I belonged in combat. So they assigned me to C-2 Greyhounds. Just a transport pilot. For 18 months, I used every flight to practice my father's techniques, low-level flying terrain, masking evasive maneuvers. I was invisible, overlooked, preparing in silence. Until Neptune 6's call gave me a chance to prove myself. Or so I thought. Part 2. The mission begins. Explain your plan, Lieutenant, Admiral Richardson commanded. I pulled up the tactical map, showing Commander Brooks' position in the Kalamoon Mountains. Sir, conventional approaches require flying through corridors. Enemy forces are monitoring. SA-17 missile batteries here, here, and here. ZSU-23-4 systems covering low approaches. So, how do you get through? Colonel Martinez asked, genuinely curious now. I traced a narrow valley system through impossible terrain. The Wadi al-Nasrani Valley Network. Extremely narrow, severe elevation changes. Considered impassable for conventional aircraft. But a C-2 Greyhound flown at extreme low level can navigate it. The enemy won't watch this approach because they don't believe anyone would attempt it. And extraction? The Admiral pressed. High-speed aerial retrieval using modified Stabo system. I overfly at 90 knots and 150 feet deploy extraction cable. Commander Brooks hooks in. I winch him aboard. Total exposure 90 seconds. That's never been done with fixed wing under combat conditions. Hayes objected. My father did it 4 times in classified operations. He taught me the exact calculations. I've practiced for 18 months. Colonel Martinez nodded slowly. Sir, the plan has merit. The approach is genuinely unexpected. If the enemy's monitoring our communications, which the compromised extraction points suggest they're preparing for helicopters, not a transport. Admiral Richardson studied me. You'd be completely alone, no backup. Yes, sir. He made his decision. You're authorized. Call sign. Ghostbird, sir. They'll never see me coming. Part 3. Something's wrong. 50 minutes later, I was strapped into a modified Greyhound. Ground crew had installed external fuel tanks, countermeasure dispensers, and my father's secret weapon, a modified AN/ALQ-90 jamming pod. Chief Davis showed me the installation. This creates ghost echo effects that confuse enemy radar. Your father claimed 73% effectiveness against SA-17 systems. What's the catch? Massive electrical drain. More than 10 minutes burns out your primary systems. I filed that away. Understood. The flight to Syria took 2 hours of demanding low-level flying. At 90 minutes, I hit a massive thunderstorm. Standard procedure demanded climbing above it, but that would expose me to radar. So I flew through it at 200 feet. For 38 minutes, I fought through rain, lightning, and turbulence that tried to tear my aircraft apart. My navigation systems flickered and died. But when I emerged, I was exactly where I needed to be, 45 miles from Brooks' position. Lay Neptune 6, this is Ghostbird. I'm inbound to extract Commander Brooks. Need you to mark his position with IR strobes. A 3-second pause. Ghostbird Neptune 6. You're actually coming. That's incredible. I can mark the compound. I've got clear line of sight from high ground about 2 clicks north. Something in his voice triggered unease. Too smooth. Too controlled for someone who'd watched his team die and spent hours hiding in enemy territory. My father's warning. Details that don't fit. Timing that's too convenient. Well, what's Commander Brooks' condition? I tested. He took a beating, but he's mobile. I can see him in the compound courtyard through my scope. No hesitation, no emotion. Just facts like a mission report. How many hostiles? At least 50 tangos. Multiple vehicles. Heavy weapons on guard towers. They're expecting rescue positioned around the perimeter, watching the sky. Too detailed. How could someone hiding, watching through a scope in darkness, count exact numbers and weapon? Neptune 6, what's your exact position? Slight pause. Grid coordinates 379423. Elevated terrain north of the compound, good concealment. I checked my terrain map and felt ice in my veins. Those coordinates put him in perfect overwatch position, excellent visibility, but also perfect for directing fire if he were working with the enemy. Trust your instincts, Colonel Martinez had said. Copy, I'm 28 minutes out. I switched to secondary frequency. Overlord Ghostbird. Need immediate signals, check on Neptune 6's transmissions. Something feels wrong. Elaborate. Admiral Richardson responded tensely. Sir, his demeanor doesn't match his situation. Too calm. Information too detailed for someone supposedly hiding. My father taught me to trust these instincts. Long pause. Ghostbird Signals Intelligence reports Neptune 6's transmissions are being monitored by enemy communications. He's broadcasting openly. He should know better if actually hiding. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Neptune 6 wasn't hiding. He was coordinating with the enemy. Overlord, I assess Neptune 6 is compromised. This could be a trap to lure in rescue aircraft. We concur. New intelligence shows Neptune 6 had financial irregularities, counterintelligence flagged. He may have been recruited months ago. My mind raced. They're expecting helicopter or fighter escort. They don't know I'm coming in a transport. Ghostbird were aborting. Sir Commander Brooks is still there, still alive. Neptune 6 doesn't know what I'm capable of. I'm continuing but changing approach. Lieutenant. Sir, if we abort now, Brooks dies and Neptune 6 disappears. I can extract Brooks and expose the traitor. Trust me the way my father would have. Longest silence of my life. Authorized. But be careful, he'll try to vector you into optimal firing positions. Copy that, sir. I switched back to primary frequency Mindraiser, focused on the deadly game ahead. Neptune 6 Ghostbird. 23 minutes out. Confirm strobes ready. Affirmative. Strobes will mark north and south walls. Helpful cooperative, completely false. I recommend approaching from the east, bearing 090. Lowest radar exposure. There it is. The helpful suggestion vectoring me into a kill zone. Copy, approaching from east. I lied smoothly, already calculating a completely different vector from the west, using terrain that would mask me until the last second. One more thing. Neptune 6 continued. Enemy air defense frequency is 247.3. You might want to monitor it. My blood ran cold. Monitoring that frequency would give away my position to direction finding equipment. He was actively trying to get me killed. Roger, I'll monitor. Another lie. 21 minutes to rescue Brooks and expose a traitor. My father trained me for impossible flying. He also trained me to turn betrayal against the enemy. Part 4. Turning the trap. At 15 minutes out, I activated my father's jamming pod. Cockpit lights dimmed, but on enemy radar, I'd appear as multiple ghost echoes. I also broadcast a false position. Neptune 6, 10 minutes out, approaching bearing 090 as recommended. Heavy winds reducing speed to 80 knots. The message made Neptune 6 think I was following his suggested approach. I immediately changed course, swinging wide to approach from the west through even narrower terrain. At 5 minutes, I climbed to 5,000 feet, deliberately exposing myself to radar, then cut lights and activated countermeasures. On enemy screens, I'd look like a damaged aircraft in distress. We're Ghostbird. I've got visual. Neptune 6's voice was excited. I see your aircraft climbing. Are you under fire? He can't possibly see me, I realized. He's guessing from enemy radar. On an affirmative, I'm hit taking fire. I made my voice panicked, then cut transmission. I pushed into a dive so steep it felt like falling. 5,000 to 300 feet in 30 seconds, swinging west away from the approach Neptune 6 expected. At 300 feet, I leveled off and accelerated toward the compound. Through the western valley, the approach nobody was watching. At 2 miles, I could see the compound through night vision. And on the north ridgeline, I saw Neptune 6's thermal signature. He wasn't hiding, he was standing openly, radio to his head, gesturing toward the eastern approach where ground forces waited with weapons pointed at empty sky. Got you. Ghostbird, where are you? Neptune 6's voice was confused, worried. I don't see you. I didn't answer. I came screaming out of the western valley at 150 feet and 120 knots, 50% faster than I'd told him. The compound erupted in chaos. Guards spun around, weapons swiveled, but I was already over them. Part 5, 90 seconds. I executed my father's maneuver, near vertical dive, pulling out directly over the compound at 150 feet. The stabo cable deployed. Through rear camera, I saw Brooks running for it despite injuries. But I also saw Neptune 6 on his ridge with a laser designator pointed at my aircraft, painting me for missile strike. You're being lazed, Admiral Richardson warned. Sam acquiring lock. I slammed countermeasures, banking hard left. An SA-17 missile shrieked past my right wing, missing because my father's jamming pod confused its seeker head. 75 seconds. I've got the cable. Brooks' voice was strained but strong. I felt the jerk pulled into climbing turn, activated the winch. Instead of following the eastern valley Neptune 6 expected, where heavy weapons waited in ambush, I turned west through the impossible terrain. 60 seconds. Gunfire erupted. Tracers arced. Something punched through my left wing. Hydraulic pressure dropped. Left engine temperature climbed. You've got fighters inbound. Neptune 6's voice was urgent and false. 2 MiGs bearing 270. I glanced at radar. Empty airspace. He was trying to spook me into climbing where Sam's had better parameters. Instead, I dropped to 100 feet, threading through the valley with damaged hydraulics, making controls mushy. 45 seconds. Commander Brooks, can you reach cargo bay? I'm working on it. He climbed hand over hand while I flew violent evasives. 30 seconds. More weapons fire. Rounds punched through wings and tail. Warning lights lit up my cockpit. I'm in cable clear. 15 seconds. I pulled into 3G climbing turn, banking hard, while the damaged aircraft shuddered. Behind me, enemy forces fired blindly at engine noise. I shut down the jamming pod at 9 minutes 1 minute before it would burn out my systems. Overlord Ghostbird. I have Commander Brooks. Extraction successful. Confirm Neptune 6 is hostile. He vectored me into ambush positions, fed false intel, designated me for SAM launch. Already in progress. Capture team dispatched. I switched to primary frequency. Neptune 6, this is Ghostbird. I have Commander Brooks. Mission successful, and I know exactly what you tried to do. Dead silence. Then his voice, all pretense, gone cold and flat. You should have died. The ambush was perfect. You made one mistake, I said quietly. You assumed I was just a transport pilot who'd follow suggestions. You never imagined I'd been trained by Phantom Kane to think 3 moves ahead of traitors like you. I cut the radio. Brooks made his way to the co-pilot seat, face battered but eyes sharp. Kane Neptune 6 tried to get you killed. Yes, sir. He set this up as a trap. Your team was compromised before insertion. Your capture was designed to lure in a rescue aircraft they could shoot down. Brooks processed this silently. But they expected helicopter or special ops aircraft, not a Greyhound flown by someone who could navigate impossible terrain. That's what saved us. Neptune 6's suggestions told me exactly where not to go. I checked my struggling systems. My father said the most valuable intelligence comes from what the enemy wants you to do. Do the opposite and you survive. Your father was right, Brooks said. Kane, I've run over 200 operations. Tonight, I learned I trusted Neptune 6 completely because he was part of my team. I never questioned. That blind trust nearly killed us both. How long was he working for them? Months, probably. Long enough to compromise our operations procedures tactics. His voice carried bitter regret. I recommended him for SEAL training. His betrayal is partially my failure. Sir, a talented liar fools anyone. What matters is we exposed him. Brooks looked at me directly. You exposed him, Kane. You recognized something wrong when no one else did. That's not just flying, that's strategic awareness I didn't know you possessed. My father taught me to watch for patterns that don't fit. Neptune 6's demeanor was wrong from his first transmission. Too calm, too helpful, too perfect. We flew in silence, my damaged aircraft limping along while I monitored systems and compensated for hydraulic damage. When we get back, Brooks finally said, you need to understand what you did wasn't just rescue. You uncovered a traitor in a SEAL team who could have compromised countless operations. That's essential to national security. I just did what my father trained me to do. No. You did what you trained yourself to do over 18 months, everyone dismissed as routine transport duty. You turned being underestimated into operational advantage. That's exceptional. Part 6, Justice Served. Naval Air Station Oceana appeared at dawn ocean, turning golden in sunrise. My damaged Greyhound ran on fumes and stubbornness. Overlord Ghostbird returning with precious cargo. Mission accomplished. Requesting priority landing hydraulic damage engine running hot fuel critical. Ghostbird cleared immediate landing any runway. Crash crews standing by. Admiral Richardson's voice held pride. And Kane, we have Neptune 6 in custody. Capture team apprehended him attempting to exfiltrate towards Syrian border. He's being held for counterintelligence interrogation. Relief flooded through me. Copy that, sir. On final approach. The landing was rough damaged hydraulics, made controls sloppy. I bounced twice, but we were down safe alive. Massive crowds waited. Medical teams, security forces, senior officers. And in handcuffs surrounded by armed guards, Neptune 6. Petty Officer First Class Marcus Webb SEAL Team 7 revealed as a traitor. Our eyes met as I climbed from the cockpit. His expression was flat empty, all false friendliness gone. He'd gambled on a perfect trap and lost because he underestimated the quiet transport pilot. Admiral Richardson approached. Lieutenant Kane, what you accomplished exceeded every expectation. You conducted successful combat rescue and exposed a traitor embedded in special operations for 8 months. I only recognized betrayal because of patterns my father taught me to watch for. The credit belongs to you, Colonel Martinez said. Your father taught skills, but you had courage to volunteer and tactical awareness to recognize when something didn't add up. That's not inherited, it's earned. Brooks extended his hand. Lieutenant Kane, you saved my life twice tonight. Once from captivity, once from a traitor I never suspected. I shook it, feeling the weight of what we'd survived. Sir, just remember this when you see someone dismissed in a support role. They might be training for something nobody expects. I will never forget that lesson. The formal debriefing revealed chilling details. Marcus Webb had been recruited by Syrian intelligence 18 months ago. Financial records showed $250,000 in offshore accounts. He'd compromised multiple previous missions attributed to bad luck. Brooks's capture was specifically designed to lure in a rescue aircraft, preferably an MH-60, packed with additional special ops personnel that could be shot down with maximum casualties and propaganda value. The plan would have worked if they'd gotten what they expected. Instead, they got me. 3 weeks later, I attended Webb's arraignment. He showed no remorse. When asked if he had anything to say, he looked at me. You shouldn't have survived. The plan was perfect. But I wasn't what you expected, I replied quietly. I was someone you underestimated. Someone trained to recognize exactly what you were doing. That's why you failed. He had no answer. Part 7. Legacy Fulfilled. 4 weeks after the mission, I stood at Arlington National Cemetery before a white marble headstone, Captain Thomas Kane, United States Navy, 1965-2017, call sign Phantom. I did it, Dad, I said quietly, hand on the stone. Everything you taught me, flying skills, tactical thinking patterns of betrayal, it all mattered. It saved Brooks' life and exposed a traitor who would have compromised countless operations. I felt tears on my face. I finally understand why you taught me about betrayal. You died exposing a traitor, and you trained me to do the same. I'm carrying your legacy in ways I never expected. Footsteps approached. Commander Brooks walked toward me with a folder. I thought I'd find you here, he said. I wanted to personally deliver this. He handed me orders. Assignment to test pilot school at Patuxent River, followed by selection to any advanced program you choose. I opened the folder, official orders representing everything I'd dreamed about for 18 months. There's more, Brooks continued. Your recognition of Neptune 6's betrayal prompted complete security review of Special Operations personnel. We've identified 2 additional individuals with suspicious patterns. They're under investigation. Your actions may have prevented future catastrophic compromises. I looked at my father's headstone, understanding the weight of his legacy. He taught me that preparation in silence is power, that being underestimated becomes advantage, and that recognizing betrayal requires watching patterns most people miss. The lessons I'll never forget, Brooks said. Neither will anyone in that briefing room. You changed minds about assumptions and capabilities. Epilogue. Today I command the Advanced Tactical Aviation and Threat Recognition Program at Naval Air Station Fallon. On my office wall hangs a photograph from that night, a thermal image of a C-2 Greyhound flying through mountain valleys captioned, "Success belongs to those who prepare in silence and trust their instincts." Below it, my father in his flight suit call sign Phantom, visible smiling with quiet confidence. And beside those, a third frame with a quote from his private journal. The most dangerous enemy wears the uniform of a friend. Teach those you love to recognize patterns of betrayal, because someday their life may depend on seeing what others miss. I tell my students the complete story, every detail, every decision, every moment I recognized something didn't fit and trusted my instincts over conventional wisdom. Then I tell them the truth. Preparation in silence gives you skills nobody expects. But awareness of human nature, understanding patterns, recognizing when something feels wrong, trusting instincts, even when you can't explain why, that's what keeps you alive, when skills alone aren't enough. Don't let anyone's underestimation become your limitation. Use it. Train for the impossible. Prepare for missions that don't officially exist yet. But also develop awareness to recognize when perfect opportunities are actually perfect traps. Because somewhere, someone's life will depend not just on your flying skills, but on your ability to see through betrayal when everyone else is fooled by a friendly voice on the radio. I was just a transport pilot for 18 months, overlooked, dismissed, preparing in silence, while developing tactical skills and strategic awareness. Until the night I rescued a SEAL commander and exposed a traitor, proving that sometimes the most important missions require someone quiet, someone unexpected, someone who inherited not just flying abilities, but also the gift for seeing the enemy within. Your moment is coming. Make sure you're ready not just with skills, but with awareness. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Ghostbird Kane, Advanced Tactical Aviation and Threat Recognition Program, Naval Air Station, Fallon, Nevada.